Think about getting into IT, possibly going help desk? Well, today we're going to be talking to one of my great friends who's a senior desktop consultant to give you some tips and tricks that have helped him be successful in his career. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Ginger Hacker. Thanks for coming back to the channel. And today, special guest I have with me is one of my great friends, known for over about 10 years now, Roman, and he is a senior desktop specialist. So, Roman, I'll let you introduce yourself real fast.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, like Andy said, my name's Roman. I've been in the IT field for roughly like 15, 17 years, somewhere in that range, and I'm excited to help Andy out with this new and upcoming channel.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this started because I know a lot of the viewers are, as I'm starting this series, we're going to start going into 5 good questions to kind of get their brains going and maybe moving into this type of field of getting into IT, or possibly if they're in IT tech support, moving up that range to a senior level. So awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this started with our first question. Could you share with us the journey over the past 12 years in IT field, particularly as a desktop specialist? What were the key milestones and how has your role evolved with advancements in technology?
Sure. Uh, well, I guess my journey really started, to be honest, I started getting really into things actually as a cell phone salesman at T-Mobile
Okay.
a long time ago. And it's not much, but it did get me started. From there, I migrated over and started working for GoDaddy and working with DNS and hosting websites,
Awesome.
domains. That really opened my eyes. They had a great training program there and taught me so much in the matter of like a month. And that really got me amped up to start learning IT and getting deeper into it. I already built like desktops in the past and stuff. I'm a tinker, as you know, most people it seems to be in this field. Um,
Now, I gotta do this throw out because you've built a few websites before, right? Maybe some about fish tanks.
yeah. I actually I started a nanoreeftank.com website. Basically, it was just like a residual earning type of website. I posted like my journey of building out this reef tank, and I like posted a bunch of items that I used to build it and be successful with it, and had affiliate links that linked back. And
Nice.
um, that was like my first like attempt, and I did okay. It wasn't great. I think I had like 30 hours in, and at the end of like a year, I ended up making like $1,000 or something and affiliate linkage, which
That's pretty cool.
was pretty lucrative if you look at it. But I'm looking for fast money, you know. So $1,000 over a year, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. You're looking at like $100 a month or something. So
Paid for the web domain to stay up, right? It's like
yeah, well, I worked there, so like I got everything for like pennies on the dollar,
that's
and
awesome.
so my costs were really minuscule. But so from that point, I knew like IT is where I wanted to go. Like in all things IT, it's hard for me to even choose these days where I want to progress next. But um, I managed to snag like a help desk a job from the get go with a fairly large company, about 5,000 employees. And that blew me out of the water. Like my first few days there, I was so overwhelmed. We support like over 5,000 applications on like a very topical
Oh wow.
level. And yeah, and so I struggled in the beginning. I was worried, and like I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And these people are like wizards. They know so many things. Like, how am I going to catch up to these people? And eventually, sure enough, I did. Um, but it really came back to I had like this theorem, I guess, or uh, I would break down like my troubleshooting into like a basic scientific method, and I would go through like 5 things. And later in my journey, I learned that those 5 things I was choosing are basic pieces of the OSI model.
Okay. Awesome.
And so I was like, oh, and then I found the OSI model. I was like, oh, now I'm learning about this, and this is awesome, and this totally is exactly what I wish I had earlier, and didn't just struggle bust through to figure out, you know. Um, and I was there for a while, like 5 years. I was in that role as help desk, which is not as terrible as like cold calls and stuff, or like doing like some standard phone call work, but as I got more senior, they put me on more projects. I actually rolled out our chat function inside our company, and that was pretty
Very cool.
awesome. Yeah, to be a part of that.
Nice.
And then we've been talking about a project for many years um, in this help desk area, and a new director came in and said, "Hey, you know what? We want to do it. Let's do it." And so I applied for the new position in this new role, um, and basically that's what I started off with as a like a tier two, I guess you would say,
Okay.
um, like the escalation point on site. So I do like on site support for the whole company. Still manage like all of those programs, and I've been there for 10 years or what? Yeah, 10 years now.
So
So I'm
you've been on almost a decade, I thought. So yeah, that's awesome, man.
yeah, yeah. Time flies. Having kids and all that stuff. My company is super awesome to me. So now I'm like the SME in my group, which is pretty. I just never expected it to happen, and I I get people asking me like, hey, like you want to come to our group, and um, I'm like, hey, like now I'm picky about where. I mean, I could apply to these other positions, but like, oh, I have things pretty good here. I work 4 10s. I have my Fridays off, a couple of days from home. I mean, and the work is, it's always changing every single day. There's something brand new I learn every day. But
Well, that leads us into probably the next question I want to kind of get to is what does a typical day look like for you as a senior desktop specialist?
yes, so that's like my role or title. Basically, I kind of feel like a babysitter at times a little bit, but I have a team of interns underneath me. I manage a um, on-site like desktop repair and troubleshooting location at our main site. A typical day for me, I have like a remote portion of my job where I resolve escalated tickets of all kinds for every single program that we have. Typical Windows issues. I even get into networking, and I am essentially like a liaison to all the other IT groups. So I touch base with cyber, network, server, ServiceNow team, various other application teams. And the other portion of my job, I switch monthly to like sort of a different role. I repair machines for our company,
Oh,
so I
very
fix
cool.
all of our. Yeah, we had a team already doing that, and they were underperforming, and it was taking like I don't know 8 months for a machine to come back being
Oh
repaired.
man.
Yeah, it's awful. It was terrible. Like people were like, "Hey, where's my computer?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna try and get you your computer, but I can't do anything about it because it's with another team." So we actually worked on a project and took that role from them. We were so sick and tired of it, and
We
so
can do
now,
this faster.
yeah. So the 6 to like 8 month turnaround turned into one day, or like same day, or up at maybe the worst 2 weeks. So I got certified with HP to do uh, desktop repair.
Awesome.
That was pretty awesome, yeah. So I take right now I'm in that role, so I'm taking up computers apart. They outfitted me with all the cool stuff. I've got the Wow stick. So I'm taking apart computers every day, which I enjoy. I'm kind of a tinkerer. And the third portion of my job is on-site assisting and being that escalation point, not only with like coaching and teaching people how to be successful in troubleshooting, but I also work on like a customer service side of things and coach people how to give that 5 diamond service. We all get HDI
Awesome.
certified. So I have an HDI analyst certification, which is outrageous and expensive. You don't need to go get it, but if your company pays for it, awesome.
Go for it if they
Um,
pay for it. Yes.
Go for it. They pay for it. Take any training. That's a huge thing. Take any training your company is offering you for that's a paid or like a certified thing. Take it. Just do it. Even if
Nice.
it's not even related, just go for it.
Well, great, man.
But yeah,
That's pretty neat, man. I mean, it's nice to have a nice, I'd say, plethora of choices when it gets to a workday. Like it breaks the normal same thing Groundhog Day repetitiveness when you go into work. Like I enjoy the ad hoc aspects of working with cyber. It's usually something new every day. You're never working on repetitive things. Sometimes things will come in that like, oh, dude's mouse is broken. Yeah, just replace the mouse. Or oh, the keyboard's messing up. Yeah, give him a new keyboard. But it's always nice to have those different questions and different problems come your way to get solved. So that's awesome. So
yeah. We
moving
have
on.
that typical stuff,
Yeah,
I issue like mice and keyboards occasionally. Typically, I'm not doing that type of thing. I have those underneath me taking care of that.
yeah.
But sometimes
Very
they
small
call.
analogy, yeah, compared to the bigger things. So yeah, all good,
Yeah.
all good. So, in your opinion, so moving on to the third question, in your opinion, how have emerging technologies like cloud computing, AI, remote work solutions changed the landscape of desktop specialists? What skills do you think are crucial for someone entering that field today to succeed?
Oh, this is awesome. This is a great question because just the other day, like actually not the other day, maybe a few months ago, I found myself like reaching out to buddies of mine that are into different areas in our groups and asking them questions and such. And I had a really awesome manager, and he or lead, I guess you'd say, leave and become a manager of an entire group. And I was asking him some question, and he's like, sent me this awesome answer back. And I was like, wow, that was really fast. And he's like, yeah, I just pumped it into Copilot. And I was like, why am I not doing that? Why am I asking people when so when it comes to AI and like, what is it, Copilot or I think Google's is Gemini,
Gemini,
and
yeah.
there's so many. That's what I've
Chat
discovered.
GPT, there's it. I
Oh
feel like
yeah,
I feel like new ones are coming up every other day. It's like, hey, I just made this new AI. I'm like, oh, cool, okay.
and that's a huge thing. Like I can solve so many problems. I don't have to scour forums anymore and find like answers to issues, or I just throw an error message into one of the AIs, and it pumps out information that I'd say like 50% of the time leads me in the right direction. So
Yeah,
I would say learning AI, getting your prompts down. I believe there's AI out there that you can actually like help build out so that it searches certain things, so you don't get a bunch of garbage back.
yeah. It's like
Even.
building. It's like building out your. I think it's like your AI's persona. It's like, hey, you are a 10-year IT cybersecurity veteran with a master's degree in cybersecurity, and you're a subject matter expert in Python and C++ and Rust. If I were to give you a code every day, you'd give me a correct code or fix these errors. And it's like you prompt it to like in a sense, self learner. It's like, hey, like this is your persona, and that's what I want you to respond back to me as is that SME. So no,
Yes.
and that's 100%. I mean, I think a lot of companies are now starting to leverage AI in a lot of their data, big data, and everything as well. And like you mentioned though, like there's that percentage and that still trust barrier, right? And that's one thing I think that will never take an analyst out of a seat compared to AI is there's the misinformation or the made up rules and data that AI can still generate that still needs that eyes on screen, fingers on keyboard to, in a sense, proofread or QA saying, hey, did AI create this prompt uh, properly? I think I saw a meme on LinkedIn a few days ago, and it was like the best meme I've seen. Probably it's like when companies begin to utilize AI in their business, and it was someone making like a taco bowl, and like they started with sauce and then fries, and then sauce and then meat, and then sauce and then like the pickles, and then they put it in the box, and then they put more sauce on it, and then it put it in a bag, and then it put sauce on top of the bag. It's like that's AI. AI is trying to help you make the product better, but it's like we're just gonna keep putting sauce on this thing because that's what this thing has in the ingredients. And I thought it was hilarious.
That is
So
funny. I always like to mention like in terms of AI, it's a tool. It's not a replacement. It's just another tool. You can utilize it to build out a PowerShell script for you. You can utilize it to build out some JavaScript and throw that into ServiceNow. I mean, it doesn't have the capability of generating its own prompts and decisions, and so that's where humans always going to be there. And I don't know if they'll ever figure that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be amazing because that would be essentially like uh, the 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 peak of AI. It would be a fully functioning critter at that point.
Yep.
But
Your new coworker, Jim AI. Like, oh no.
yeah, Jim. And then as far as skills that are crucial, I think the biggest thing that can elevate you and help you succeed is just constantly learn. It doesn't matter what it is, like obviously IT related. Just dig into something, and people are going to come to you for that, and it's going to elevate you. People are going to look at you different, respect you, recommend you for jobs. Like, hey, look, he learned this. He can learn anything, you know. And so that's one other thing I'd say is pretty important.
Well, that bleeds into the fourth question actually, which is what, and this is one I'm sure that most of my viewers are kind of breaking into cybersecurity and stuff that want to kind of know for these roles. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting their career, maybe want to do a career change into IT support or IT desktop management? Are there specific certifications, courses, trainings you would recommend, both paid and free, or even just kind of open source that you could find?
Yeah, there's so much stuff out there. Like for instance, like my company gives us free access to Precipio courses, and a lot of companies have a free vendor of sorts. If you're not employed, that would be a little different. But at that point, I would probably say like hit up YouTube. There's so many professionals on YouTube
Yes.
that have anything you want to learn. I mean, literally anything that you want to learn, and some of them are better than others. And most, I would say, a majority of them are just trying to share knowledge and elevate all of us humans, and in that regards. Um, certifications, especially like obviously for like cyber roles, you're gonna want to get your, CompTIA or equivalent from another vendor. Um, there are free courses, like I think Google has the free courses for cyber. Um,
Yeah,
Gosh,
Coursera hosts a few of them, I think. Udemy's a few I've talked to on my channel before. Um, Big ones I always harp on heavy, man, is try hack me, hack the box. There's
oh yeah,
some
those are two good
there's
ones.
there's some paid portions of it, but on those ones there's free rooms as well you can get into for Linux, Python, Splunk, learning Sims, Source, open source, data collection. Hack the box gets a little bit more. I'd say like you're going like now like to the college level. I kind of call it, try hack me is great for a crawl walk run. Hack the boss, you're now jumping into the university level where there's still some kind of playbooks written out for it, but you're going to get into a lot more of a hey, like get root, and then when you're done with this, now open up the actual like analysis portion of how this happened. Pico CTF is another great one too. It's like a capture the flag based learning, very fun. But
What's
no,
the What's the one that tells you or runs you through the day through a day of like a specific role? Which one is that?
Try Hack Me has a few like the SOC analyst pass 1 and 2. I think they just released some for dev engineer as well as like a SOC engineer portion this year as well. They have, I also I think have it for Sec Plus and Pen Test Plus.
Yeah,
One
so
of
those are good.
yeah one
Figuring out where you want to go is important. That's probably one of your biggest steps. Is like, what are you gonna do? Like, what type of work do you want to do? I mean,
exactly yes. There's so much when people say cyber or IT. It's like okay, well, what do you want to do in cyber IT? Do you want to build computers? Do you want to build software? Do you want to update software? Do you want to work help desk? Do you want to do ad hoc work? Do you want to do penetration testing? Do you want to defend penetration testing? Do you want to write out code? I mean, yeah, it's the possibilities and kind of like doors that open up into cyber is kind of like a web. There's multiple different paths you can kind of go down that can really kind of like may pique your interest of where you want to go. Like all because you're really into building computers doesn't mean you want to build the computers for a company. Maybe you want to be the person that's only dealing with the software and downloads, or maybe dealing with like specific ad hoc questions that come your way. So yeah, definitely.
yeah.
All right. Well, last question I'm gonna get you with here, and then we'll we'll kind of start our exit of the end of this short first portion of it. And really appreciate having you on here as well, Roman. So I know it's for us it's a little late in the evening here in Arizona, but we're dedicated. We want to help out you guys get those questions and answers for jumping into cyber and looking into these new roles. So
And
looking
30 dirty, man. You got to be
yeah,
up late, you know. That's how you make the big bucks, right?
I've preached it on my chat, and you'll see it in my previous video. And if you haven't, go ahead and check out that other video, and I'll link it in this video as well. Of time management. Like if I did a midlife career change of 7 years as a police officer, jumping into cyber, and there was plenty of nights where I came home from my workday, and it's like, okay, well, I need to jump on for an hour and a half, and read some stuff, jump on Try Hack Me, learn some new concepts. So when it comes to if you're doing a career change trying to get into cyber, there's a lot of time management that you have to incorporate into that move. If you're still creating your time and going in for like an entry level position, or you're going through school and you plan on getting into cyber, like you're in a little bit more of a not maybe as much of a time crunch because you're still going through school. You have time to finish school and kind of get into that job role that you want to get into. But
Yeah, I have a guy at work, started just a little while ago with us and just crushing it from day one, just speed demoning through so much stuff. And I was like, man, how do you do it all? Like, what are you doing? And because he got his degree, his bachelor's in cybersecurity, um, in 6 months,
oh
and
wow,
got his Sec Plus CYSA, and I believe he's wrapping up the next one. What's the next one on the list?
CASP I think is the next one
Yeah,
after CYSA.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I was amazed. I mean, once you get into and I think that's really important is like where I've started. Of course, my buddy Andy's been real successful in his moves, and I've seen it. And I'm over here on the sidelines, doing desktop support sort of. And I was like, you know what? I actually enjoy listening and hearing the stories of his work. And we have several other friends that are in the same career path. And I was like, I'm just going to dive in. I'm just going to start poking at stuff and seeing what I can learn. One thing and to wrap back over to the other part of that story, I was like, hey, just give me some tips of what you're doing, like time management wise. And he was like, honestly, man, how long does it take you to get to work in the morning? And I was like, oh, I live pretty far from my work. I'm 30 minutes away, which is pretty normal in Arizona. But he was like, turn on a YouTube, play a video all the way to work, play it all the way back. That's an hour of studying. Like, are you just gonna get familiar with the terms? Half of the Sec Plus exam is just knowing the terminology.
yeah. I'd say it's a mix between a vocab test and just understanding the concepts of how the material works. 100%. So
He's got 2 kids, or 2 or 3, and all kinds of other stuff going on in his life, but he still managed to do it. And so it kind of just inspired me to get more in tune and finally go take the test. I've been putting it off for ages these days, but I got kids of my own and that whole jazz. But
yeah, for sure. Well, last question for you, Roman. So looking forward, what trends do you see shaping the future of IT support in the next few years? How do you plan to adapt your skills to continue being relevant and successful in the evolving field?
well, it's ever changing, my job. Like, I'm not doing the same thing I did a year ago or a year before that. It's constant learning. I would say, excuse me, for prepping for the future, obviously, from what I see, using AI is such a powerful tool. And you don't even need to know a lot of things anymore. Like, if you're really good at just prompting and
Yeah.
learning how to prompt, you don't even need to know how to code in PowerShell or in Java. You just can tell it to do it for you. All that stuff's online already. Everybody's done
If
everything.
you know where to look, right? It's like a treasure map. Like if you know which direction you need to go, you can get to the X marks the spot. You can find the answer. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'd say a lot of getting into cybersecurity is one, being able to do research on your own to find that solution, or two, knowing somebody or knowing the path of least resistance you need to go to, whether that's a separate team, another senior team member, or maybe even like a subreddit or Reddit and other information. There's plenty of times I've even had to do open source to find a command prompt I'm not used to seeing before. Or maybe there's a file I'm not aware of that when I look it up, like, oh, this is a Microsoft signed file code or that's ran. Like this is totally normal. This isn't benign at all, or this is extremely benign. So
And sometimes if you don't know what it is, you just got to get out there and go and learn it. You got to go buy a book if it's not online, you know.
yep,
I mean, any book that's out there is probably online, but maybe
yeah.
there is a book out there for some old stuff. Um,
Rust. No, I'd say Rust is online now though. But
yeah, I mean, you can find it all. There's people out there that are like dying to help everybody, just like you, for instance. I mean, putting out all these videos. There's always someone on the forums. You have to be patient. Get into the community. Um, you're part of a group already, aren't you?
yeah, DC 480 is a great group here local in the valley. It's the DEF CON 480 zip code group that goes to all the cons over in Vegas. And yeah, it's a great group to kind of get your feet wet. It's you get invited by attending one of the meetings. They meet every first Tuesday of the month, and yeah, it's another great, just like you said, like going into the community, attending conferences, networking, and kind of being able to talk to people and have that kind of open communication of things you want to do. So, Roman, last quick question I'm going to throw at you. So, if there was two things, or maybe even three, if you can go back in time and tell Roman to know or get into cyber IT, or that breaking into that right when you knew you'd start breaking into IT, what would you go back and tell yourself to start learning?
Mm. We'll definitely like figure out and pass the Sec Plus, but probably start with my Net Plus.
Okay.
It's very. I feel like cyber is so heavy on networking, right? So I would probably have started there first and get the full understanding, uh, utilizing that Net Plus, and then migrate into the Sec Plus. Go with you the first time that you were heading out there to, DEF CON your first time, or just looking in, having a more of an open mind, I guess. You get really stagnant in your job when things are comfy, and that's the death of your career. I fear it every day, and I'm maybe one of the worst at it. People are moving around every 6 months these days, or a
Yeah.
year, and my company makes it really hard for me to do. It's real cushy, they take care of me. They don't treat me like a number, and so, but I wanted to not rely on my company anymore. So, like, for security, I rely on my company for security, and I want to get assets of my own in terms of knowledge and technical capabilities, and be able to say, you know what, I can quit this job tomorrow and have another job lined up by 5 other people that I've networked with because I went to DEF CON, or I went over to the DC 480 group and, networked with them. And they desperately want me there because they know what I can do. And, I can talk the talk and run through all that. That's kind of what I wanted, to have that security. And that's basically my whole aspiration, is just to get to that level where I'm confident that I don't even need to worry about my company being, good or bad. I know that there's 15 others out there that are crying for me.
No, and it's hard, right? Like you want to go and like put yourself out there, and I mean, like, it's the same thing. Like, being comfortable with a job is very safe, but I like to give the advice: the best time to look for a job is when you have a job, and
Yeah.
especially when it comes to always wanting to better yourself. Like, always be willing to take the chance. Or an interview is just a conversation you can always say no to. So challenge yourself with roles that you start to see. I'll go apply, apply, apply. I mean, there's been multiple times when I was even going through my beginning first few months, years trying to get into cyber. I probably have like an interview every other week, and every other week I'd get that, yep, we picked someone else. And I'm like, cool. All right, on to the next. And
It's just like dating, man. You know, you get told no 10 times and the 11th one is yes. Or if you're really unlucky, 100 times, and then the 101 first is a yes. You can just play your numbers well. You can get through. And the more you immerse yourself in that that sector, it's just gonna come. It's just gonna bleed in. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, hey, Roman, thanks so much for coming on the channel. And those that are still watching, really appreciate you guys sticking around. I know this probably dragged on for a bit, but this is the information I'm trying to get to you guys to understand just like a day to day and that what it's going to be like. What's that new role or that new job going to be looking like for you when you get on? So if you're still watching, go ahead and smash that like and subscribe. Roman, thanks again so much for jumping on the channel to kind of share your story. And really appreciate everybody. Go ahead and stay tuned for the next video. And as soon as I get that out, I'll make sure to hit that premiere button and have you guys stay tuned. Thanks so much and have a good one, everybody.
See you guys.